Okay, so for this next session of Launch Week 11, we're kind of doing this a little bit differently because usually this is kind of its own virtual event. But Tim and I were two people who went and covered NAB Show 2025. Hi, this is Tim Albright, by the way,
Hi
in case
there.
you didn't know him. But we both covered NAB, so we thought it would be cool if we just take this section of Launch Week and just kind of go over everything. Well, not everything, it's kind of impossible, but go over a lot of the main technology and technology types that we saw on the show floor, because this is a big show for our industry, but it's not quite like Infocom or ISE where like everyone from our industry is there.
No, that's fair, and there is some crossover which I found fascinating, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about a couple of those where traditional AV products were being used in broadcast and events. But there's also a lot of really great new folks that at least I had not been exposed to yet,
Mhm.
or at least not in any meaningful way. Yes, we've got Sony, yes, you've got Sennheiser, yes, you've got Shure, but you've also got folks that were talking to directly to content creators, right?
Mhm.
I talked not long ago about the number of YouTube vloggers that were there,
Yeah.
but you've also got Elgato, right?
Yeah.
That was there and showing off not just the stuff like the Stream Deck, but broadcast level, professional AV level gear. So yeah.
Yes. So the delineation was very much like there were AV integrators there. There
Yep.
were broadcast integrators there, but there were also end users, pro end users for both. And then there were also this just group of consumer level like kind of creators, YouTubers, people who are just now getting into this type of technology because they stream live from wherever so often. So it
Mhm.
was just a very interesting makeup of people for a show. But yeah, if before we like continue on, you guys probably know how to use the platform at this point, so I'm not really gonna go over how to use it. But there is a microsite. So Tim and we're gonna really like burn through all this stuff in like 30 minutes. But if you want to see more, I think rAVe, we shot a little over 100 product videos at the show. Tim, I know you got content as well.
Yep.
So on our side, you can go to ravepubs/NAB or NAB show. Both, it takes you to the same place. But that is where all of our stories and product announcements and press releases, and all of our product videos, that is all in one place there. Tim, where can they go to find your NAB coverage?
So for our NAB coverage, you go to Infocom, avnation.tv
Yep.
/NAB25.
Perfect. So first of all, this show is very busy. Let's show the people like what the show floor looked like. This is kind of like POV, you're us walking around on the show floor. And this is like all of the halls were like this, by the way. So there were three halls. This was the West, Central, and no,
North.
west, south, and north, right?
Yep.
Central is being worked on now. So 3 full halls of, the Las Vegas Convention Center were looking like this at all times. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking because I am not quite used to that. Kind of had to get used to that at ISE because that was like hall 3 at ISE was like very elbow to elbow with people. You're kind of like fighting to get around, but it wasn't quite that bad, but it was a ton of people constantly in every single hall, which I was not used to.
And separated like the thing about ISE and I talked about this where
Mhm.
it's one big building, right?
Yeah,
Yes, Hall 8 is way down there, but you're still staying inside,
yeah.
just like Infocom last year, because it was at the Las Vegas Convention Center. This year, instead of North Hall being under construction, Central was. So we're going outside and inside. Not that it's the end of the world. It's Vegas in April instead of Vegas in June or August.
Yeah.
But it was quite a trek if you're going from the West Hall and
Mhm.
your next appointment is in the South.
Yes.
You know, build in some squishy time there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's just something you have to do when you go to any show in that convention center. But let's talk. Tim and I actually got to hands-on demo a product together, where like we got to sit and I got to interview him and we just kind of chatted. This is in the data video booth, and this is us using the Voice Tracks 100. So first, I'm going to show you just this clip of us kind of talking about show floor thoughts while at the show, and then we're gonna kind of tell you a little bit more about Data Video's product that we use to do this. So check this out. Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's crazy to say like, oh, this anything will never happen, because I'm sure 10 years ago we never thought that AV and broadcast would be so tightly intertwined. Yeah. I was talking to John Hinkle about it earlier.
Emmy award-winning John Hinkle.
The Emmy award-winning, renowned in the broadcast and AV industries, John Hinkle. And he and I were talking about how he was like, this show is like 100 years old. And I was like, you know what? It's crazy because this is like, the AV industry is like America, and like the broadcast industry is like Europe, where like everything in America is like, we started counting at year 1776. So like nothing is older than like 200 years. Yeah. And then we go to another country like England and they're like, oh yes, you know, this building is from 1400. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I forgot things could be that old. Like, that is what the AV industry is like, looking at the broadcast industry to me. Is that fair. Like a crazy analogy?
It's very fair, because you're right, because broadcast has been around, well, not to be silly, but since, you know, the 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So it is kind of like, wait, like we just seem so new to everybody else that they're like, oh, AV, like they've only been around 40 years.
Young whippersnappers.
These young, not 40 years, probably like 50 years, probably, I would say. But yeah, I guess we seem like such a new industry to this industry that it's really interesting. Yeah, and I had never thought about it like that before coming to this show. So it's provided some very good perspective for me, I would say.
No, absolutely. The other thing I'm seeing is the convergence. Convergence. I hate using that word, but it's the best one I got right now.
Well, that's the word.
It is. When it comes to traditional broadcast and traditional production and the AV space. And one of the areas is in virtual production and installed virtual production. I was at Sony's booth earlier.
Yeah.
And they have, them like many others, have a virtual production system, right? And they were showing it from two different aspects. One was certainly in broadcast, right, where you have the direct view LED behind you,
right?
And you know, I know Gary is a big fan of Star Wars, so and I am too. So Mandalorian is one of those shows that leverages it. But also you've got corporations putting in virtual production.
Yeah.
So you have traditional AV integrators putting in broadcast level virtual production. And so you're right about that kind of crossover, where you've got a company like Sony, who you and I were at, I think, a CEDIA last year, where, you know, their messaging was, it's shot on a Sony, it's produced on a Sony, you might as well watch it on a Sony.
Yeah.
Same thing kind of here, where you can use Sony for virtual production in your actual film production, or you can use it in your corporate.
And it's this big particular box right here. And what it's doing is taking positional data from conferencing type microphones or microphone systems APIs. And what it's doing is it's controlling our cameras, as you can see, and doing a clean switch based on who and where someone's speaking at in a room. So you see it goes to the wide shot, and now he's talking again, so it switches to him, back and forth, so they're having a conversation. So the VoiceTrax 100 controls our cameras, and it can also control AI functionality as well. And then it's doing a clean switch. So this is the SE4000, which is our 4K production switcher, and it allows us to do clean switching and 4K output. And then we're also using these HDR2 for recording.
So yeah, Tim and I did that demo for Data Video's VoiceTrax 100. They had this whole studio set up, and then Rob Reed, you know, kind of explained a little bit about what that is. But basically, it's a voice-activated camera controller, and it switches and moves the camera based on who is speaking. So it's really great for hands-free production in those classrooms, meetings, etc. And you don't need like a producer to do that for you, because it has the AI functionality built in. So that's what makes it so cool. Tim, you were very excited to talk about Sony's virtual production lineup at this show.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So Sony and Sony's had virtual production for a while, and obviously it's NAB, but they were showing it off in a couple different ways. And when I was doing the interview on I think Sunday afternoon, there were a number of customers there, end users that were looking at it for their own virtual production spaces. But they're using the Verona line DirectView LED, their cameras, and also their software. And the thing about this is they had the DirectView LED at a 90-degree angle, and you couldn't tell on the
Yeah.
virtual sides, which was fascinating to me.
Yes. And we talk about this, or he talks about this in this video. So check this out. He's going to walk you through exactly how this looks. It's very cool.
We're here at the virtual production booth, and we're showing you all the cool stuff that's happening on the virtual production side of Sony, including our new LED wall Verona at a 1.5 pitch, which we are now shooting in a very aggressive angle, 90 degrees here. But because we make the LED wall and the camera, we can then compensate that off angle color shift that's happening in, so the camera, Venice 2 that we have right over here, can then see that angle looking like a flat image on the output. And here's the output looking very flat, and you don't see the seams of the angle, and you also don't see the color shift happening even when it's off angle. And there you are right over there on the shot. Okay. And the way we're able to track the camera is we're using Sony's new camera tracking system called the Ocellus. The Ocellus is what's sitting right on top of the camera here, and it has 5 Sony sensors all around the camera, one in the front, top, sides, and one in the back. And that's allowing us to create a 3D map of the environment without any markers or any infrared cameras, allowing us to then be free deep protocol, transferring directly that information via live link to Unreal. And in Unreal, we're able to now know where the position of this camera is in the 3D environment. And it also has an IMU inside, so it'll give us gyro data as well via this USB cable, USB-C that goes over here. And it goes right into the processing unit that comes in as part of this. This is where all the processing is happening for tracking the camera, but it's also able to record a FBX file inside the processing unit that we can then give to our VFX guy and have them add AR elements even if we're shooting outside.
So yes, obviously Sony's entire booth, I think that was the biggest booth I've ever seen them have at a trade show ever.
Yeah.
But their virtual production, obviously very, very cool. And that's only part of the video. I think the full video is 5 minutes long. So you can definitely watch the full thing on the microsite. But let's keep it moving here. So the next thing is the VizRT Pro Creator Studio. So like Tim and I were saying, a ton of creators at this show, like people who are like, they're just kind of interested in it. They're hobbyists, if you will. So what this is this is a setup ideal for creators who are aiming to elevate their production using this studio software setup, but also like maintaining flexibility and maintaining ease of use. So check this out.
Here is our TriCaster 1 Pro and VizFlowX. We have our Viz Audio Connect, where you can bring in your audio, whether it's analog or NDI, and have that implemented into your productions. We also have a PTZ camera here where we can showcase and control our video going into our content. So the VizFlowX, we have our HTML5 graphic overlays, as you can see displayed here. I can control these, bringing in information from the web or from Google Sheets or from JSON files in order to display on screen.
Okay, what do we got next, Tim?
Our next is Ross Video. Steph wasn't wrong about Sony's also one of the biggest booths that I've seen Ross have in quite a long time.
Oh, that's so true, actually.
so-
This was huge and busy.
Very busy. So we mentioned the fact that the 3 different halls. This was South, the South Hall, and as soon as you walked in, you had this very big Ross booth, and right across was a very big Black Magic booth. So that is what met you at the South Hall. And so Ross has got the Spider Cam Pro, which is it's a cable suspension system for your camera. So you can get overarching sweeps, you can get all sorts of stuff. It's really great also because there are instances, a lot of people will default to drones nowadays when it comes to overhead. This is a good use in those cases where you can't put a drone.
Yeah.
Yes, there are instances where you shouldn't use a drone. I'm just put that out there. So this is a good use case for that.
No, exactly. And next, oh, this is your video. I'm excited to talk about this one. So this
Yeah.
is from Shure. You got to do a couple of interviews over in that booth. And this one is kind of about Shure's line of MXA microphones, which we are obviously very familiar with in this industry, but they were kind of showing it in like a new use case. And I didn't get over there and see this. So tell me a little bit about it.
So they had a little miniature basketball court, and the specific use case, but you can use this in different areas, where you have the MXA line of the microphones hung overhead, and in the basketball courts, you're hanging it in the center scoreboard area to get court sounds, right? So if you're doing a broadcast, NAB, and you need to get court sounds, if you're doing hockey, again, hanging it from that mini scoreboard and getting sounds, what you can do then is it eliminates a couple different things. You don't have to mic up all the players.
Yeah.
You can get on court or on ice sound for the broadcast, and then what that does is that actually brings the audience, that brings the television audience in closer to the action and makes them feel a part of it.
Yeah. All right, let's check out this interview. I pulled a clip of it just so that people could kind of get an idea of exactly what you're talking about. So check this out.
What are we doing on the basketball court?
So we are showing off our array technology being utilized outside of what it's initially supposed to be used.
Which is a conference room, just for the record.
Yes, this is a conference room, just for the record. But it is kind of taking out all the algorithms which make that work in a conference room and using it in a scenario above a basketball court, for instance, to hear that, to hear the squeak of your shoe, to have it the swish of the net.
Oh, nice.
Hockey, same, ice, all of that stuff.
So taking the Shure technology that we know and love in the conference room and bringing it into the sports and entertainment.
This isn't the first time it's happened either.
Absolutely
Think
not.
about the 58 was supposed to be a studio microphone. I mean, that's what SM58 stands for.
Okay.
And it got used, I mean, it's the most important live performance. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's really cool. That's definitely like a different use case than I would have thought of because we're just so used to talking about Shure from like a conference room perspective, So that's so interesting. But that's not all that Shure does at all. It's just that that's where we live in the industry mostly. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's also interesting they're using their technology in other places too.
Yeah, exactly. And I just don't think about that most of the time because that's not where I live, So this next product, this is rAVe Visuals Ruby 1.9F wall. So this is an LED panel, beautiful for virtual production. So it's like their highest end, ideal for like those high resolution displays in that, because of course you don't want to use like a low res display in virtual production. You need it to be very bright, very vibrant, but also it has to like not compete like in terms of glare with the camera that you're shooting on. So check this out.
Behind me is a Ruby 1.9F wall. So the F designation is primarily for a panel marketed towards the film market. This is the highest quality panel that we make, intended to be able to be used in front of any camera that you might throw at it, right? So if your DP or your cinematography team has a specific look or a specific camera body that they want to bring into a production, you should have the ability to bring anything in, set things up, fine-tune everything, and then shoot.
So do keep in mind that like we were shooting that on one of our cameras, which is not like a production camera, it's just like one of our like ones in a rig, but that still looks really good, right?
It looks really, really good. And that booth was very visually stimulating. I mean, it was because they had 3 or 4 different one of the types of DV LEDs. And yeah, it's really, really stunning.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. So this next product is kind of different. It's kind of like a step outside of like this like heavy broadcast production technology, but HP was there. So, HP computers. And this is a 3D rendering solution that actually allows you to put a piece of fabric in it, and it pulls it and scans it into a computer to allow you to use it in your digital renderings to put it on a piece of furniture to see how it might look in a room. Tim, why do you think this might be relevant to, say, our industry, AV?
So a couple of different things. Number one, as more and more are doing actual production and virtual production, this is going to be critical, right? Because you're able to bring in fabrics, you're able to bring in patterns and things of that nature and apply it to these virtual sets and these virtual elements. Whether that you're using Unreal Engine or whatever 3D rendering you're using, this is going to be huge for that, because you can bring in a customer's or client's custom-made color or custom-made pattern and apply it anywhere in a virtual environment.
It's so cool. So check out this video.
This is something very unique. This machine can actually scan any material that you can think of. Down below, we've got a host of different material that can be used, and it's going to port it directly into your PC and create it as a material that then you can dump into your 3D render program and take whatever fabric you've scanned and convert it into, for example, here we're using a chair. So if there's a specific leather material, you can host it into your chair, into your 3D environment.
Okay. Like, I literally don't know how that works. I'm not paid to know how that works, but all I know is that is very, very cool.
It is very cool.
And like just an original product, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. But next up, okay, kind of stepping back into our studio production, putting that hat on. This is from Panasonic Connect. This is the AK UCX 100 studio camera. So this is going to be, as you can see how they've placed it on their set. The Panasonic booth, by the way, was also another huge one. They had like 5 or 6 vignettes, and this is their like broadcast vignette. So this is like a very like studio professional camera for those virtual production, high-end broadcast setups. But this actually has an improved sensor, and they've made a few updates to this, even though it's not like, a brand new camera. But I did think it was cool and notable to talk about Panasonic in that way, because they are so well known in the broadcast industry, are pretty well known in the AV industry as well with the Panasonic Connect brand. So they are another one that really was beefing that up at their booth, and it was very like pro broadcast level. But they talk about their press event, because we both went to that too.
Well, and the thing that's interesting about their press event is they touched on something from the broadcast industry side that we have been talking about on the AV side for years. And that is the lack of employees. That's a lack of workers. That's a lack of getting new people, young people into the industry, which I find fascinating. That broadcast is talking about that too. And so the camera that Steph was just showing is one of their solutions, is Panasonic solutions, because the AI and because of the ability to auto frame and auto follow, that eliminates that kind of a production where you may have needed 5 camera people and a technical director. You might need only 1 or 2 and a technical director. So it eliminates the pressure from the broadcaster side to fully staff up to 5 camera people when you can have something like this and eliminate that need.
Yeah, exactly. So this next one, this is Christie. So Christie, obviously, they're very well known in the AV space, well known in the broadcast space too.
Yeah.
This is the Spider S. So check this out. We're showing a lot of like very modular architectural, like tiling capability for that digital canvassing. Obviously, this is huge for AV, because as we are kind of in charge of command and control now, we're looking for solutions that can do video tiling, separating these into multiple views so that you can look at different camera feeds from different places. And so the Spider S is like another one of those kind of options for that.
Well, and the Spider S is also a huge one when it comes to live events as well. So you've got
good point. Yes.
all sorts of video content. It would, depending on whether you went to Taylor Swift or you went to I almost said Hamilton. Hamilton doesn't have any screens, but you get the point here, where it's live events. You've got screens going on, and you have to power that with something.
Exactly. Wait, Tim, did you get to go see Dream Chip Technologies at all?
I did not.
This is I just happened to get a press release from them, so I went over there to check it out. So we're going to throw this video up on the screen so you can see this. But what you are looking at, like, they tout this as the world's smallest global shutter broadcast camera. And as you can see, like, that is me zooming in on it. Like, that is a very small camera. It is 29 millimeters by 29 millimeters by 33 millimeters, and it weighs 55 grams, including the lens and the microphone. And it's designed designed for applications like body-worn referee cams, drone-mounted shots, things like that, where you can't get like a full broadcast level camera into a space. This you can because it's so small. So yeah, I thought that was very, very cool, and I was glad that I got to go over there and check that out because I
There,
was like,
there were lenses in Canon and Sony's booth that were bigger than that.
that were like 3 times that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it was so cool to like on one end see these like huge like monsters of cameras, which of course you do need in a lot of places, but like also they had this like tiny small one for those types of solutions too. I talked to you about this other company too sometime. I know I did, but View Technologies. You didn't get to go in that booth, did you?
No.
They're cool, okay? I found out about them because they partner with Samsung. So Samsung makes the displays that they use this software with. So basically what they do is they make virtual production software and these capabilities easy to use because they have this like full suite of software, but it's like very like easy user interface. Like you look, you click, and it changes the lighting and changes the virtual production set like automatically. So this video, he explains it a lot better than I can. So check this out.
Let me start by showing you the software that we have developed. So essentially, we really wanted to make virtual production very, very easy for people to use. And so what we have created here is essentially a stock library of content that people can select and then display on the LED volumes in an easy way. So for example, if I wanted to press this, you'll notice here that the whole world and the lights and everything adjusted accordingly to the image that I selected. So we're doing some pixel mapping, we're doing some control systems, all the really crazy technological stuff that people hear about virtual production, but we just sort of figure out a way to make it a little bit simpler so that everybody can actually play the game, right? So before you needed to have a lot of like technological expertise, but with this technology, literally this evens the level field so that anybody can play. So
like that's incredible, right?
And it makes it makes virtual production so user friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the first time I saw it, there was a lot of math involved, and there was a lot of horsepower, and you know, making sure that everything was exactly calibrated correctly. That right there looks like it's just kind of easy to use and drag and drop.
Yes, and you couldn't totally see in that clip, but there were lights as well as the display in the back. And with these presets that he had put in, it changed the lights to match that background. And like you can change that on the fly. So if you saw that control panel that was on the right, like you can change that how cool those lights were. If you're like, oh wait, I actually don't like how that looks, like you can change it on the go. And it was so easy. So definitely go and watch that full demo. He does 2 of them. So check them out on the rAVe site because incredible. Yeah. But yeah, Tim, I feel like you would really like Hollyland. Did you check out their booth?
I did, and for various reasons, because this is one of those companies that 100% catered to the YouTubers that Steph has talked about earlier. You know, good audio solutions for just doing video and audio pretty much anywhere.
Yes, and what this video is going to show, this is a very long video, by the way. This guy taught, like, he shows me everything. It's like 6 minutes. I pulled like 2 minutes of that, and he just shows off a couple of the mic kit options for like really on the go, on the fly, like production where you just need to pop a lav on somebody and go. So check this out.
One of them is this, the Lark M2S. I have my own that I've brought with me here. The great thing about this new wireless mic kit is a few things. One, the microphone part, the front there is so small and discreet. You can clip it on to a shirt of the subject. A little hard to do with one hand, but like that, and you're not going to get any distracting logos, you're not going to get any flashing lights, and you're going to get great audio quality. The great thing about the case too, it has a receiver for your camera there. It also has room for the receiver for a phone if you have USB-C, and it just all fits into a compact case. You can put it in your pocket. I love it. It's probably the best like on-the-go thing to have a professional presentation, not have a bunch of logos and flashing lights. But very exciting, we recently released this Lark Max 2, which is wild. So a lot of new features on this. This is kind of the top of the line wireless mic kit. If you look at the transmitters, again, very small and discreet. They kind of clip open, whoop, like that. And then you can again clip it onto your shirt in a way that's going to be very discreet like that, with the main body going on the inside of the shirt. It has room in the charging case for the phone USB connector and the camera receiver, which on this one is up here. You'll notice that this one is also connected to this Sony FX30 with a Sony camera adapter. So it's using the hot shoe on the Sony. You don't even need a wire to connect to the camera, which is great.
All right. So next up, what do we have, Tim?
We got Multidyne's Silver Bullet transceiver. Now, one of the things about broadcast is you're doing, especially when it comes to live events, sports, and stuff like that, you're doing it in unforgiving environments. And this is a ruggedized transceiver. It's sending SDI signals. And the thing about this is you're using it with fiber. So fiber itself is kind of fragile by itself. It's a piece of glass.
Yeah.
But the Silver Bullet, what it does is it allows you to use fiber in a rough environment without the danger of it being damaged.
Nice. Okay. Check out this video, everybody.
This is a newly designed, redesigned version of our Silver Bullet product, which does 5 megabits to 12 gigabits, 12G SDI, auto detect, reclocks all the way down to 270 megabits. The receiver has a very easy to use integrated optical meter, and there's a whole range of accessories for powering off of USB and to adapt the coax cable to HDBaCs and so forth.
Okay, and also a brand that we know and love, NAV, and that pretty much everybody knows them everywhere, is Blackbox. So what I was really surprised with is a lot of companies showcasing integrations with KVM, which is keyboard video mouse.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And kind of showcasing control room, security, and that's what they're showcasing. So this guy's opening this door, and then he is messing around with it, and it changes the content that you're showing to kind of like as like a security measure. So I thought that was really cool. And obviously, like, Blackbox known for Emerald, which is like the KVM over IP platform. And so basically what they're showcasing also in that demo was like integration with IoT systems to enhance those control room operations. We were just kind of showing this demo in like a security kind of function. So yeah.
KVM is huge in broadcast, and we saw it all over the show floor.
Exactly. Next up, PTZ Optics announced Hive Studio live from NAB. So Tim, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So this is something that Paul and the gang over there have been working on for quite a while. The tagline, which I love, is connect, control, and create. So this is their camera control system. You can do color correction, you can do control, you can do it from the cloud. So that means that you could be sitting in an office in LA and the production happening in New York, and you could physically be controlling everything. So they won a bunch of awards at NAB because of it. So it is really, really slick.
Check this out.
PTZ Optics Hive is launching today globally. That means we're out of beta and we are letting people use it today is the launch. So you can download it today. What does it do? Well, it allows you to control PTZ cameras from anywhere in the world, and it allows you to not only control the cameras, but manage them, do NDI video output, recording, and ultimately streaming and production. So it's great for remote production. Today we are announcing our brand new enterprise licenses, which are available through authorized PTZ Optics partners. It's only $3,000 to have unlimited studios. So Hive is incredibly flexible because we start at, it's actually free for all PTZ Optics camera users can use Hive for free. And it's only $25 a month to get started with our basic plans.
If y'all could only see the things we talk about backstage.
Nope.
Okay, anyway, that was crazy. So this is another Ross video product, but again, this booth was insane. Like probably one of my like top booths of the whole show.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Quorum, and I thought it was cool because they're showcasing Quorum in like a meeting room functionality. So this is kind of like thinking of the meeting room or a big meeting space like a broadcast level production where someone is talking and you are like, oh, they're talking. I want to showcase this. Great. We've got 3 camera angles of them. I pick this one. So check this out. It is actually easier to use and operate than you would think.
So Quorum is an automation system. It controls switchers, it controls cameras, it controls graphics, and it makes it super easy for one operator to broadcast a meeting. So here we have a meeting. This is a room where we have people sitting in the room. If someone starts to talk, all I have to do is click on that person. So I'm going to click on Ben, and these cameras up at the top are going to recall and give me 3 different previews of that person. Now I pick which one I like the best. I like this one over here, and then do a take, and it's going to put it on program. And then someone else starts to talk, I just have to click on them, I get a preview of that person, do a take, and they go on air. So it makes it super easy to broadcast a meeting where you have a lot of people talking, and that's it.
All right, a couple more products here. Next up, we have Netgear's AV Engage controller, which probably everyone here watching like already knows.
What will they do? And it's incredibly important. So we know AV over IP, right? And we know Netgear because of AV over IP. But Netgear is also heavily involved in the transport of broadcast level signals. And so that was one of the things that they were showing. In addition, I know you talked to John Hinkle, and I did too. He's also talking about something that you and I discussed already, the number of AV integrators that are already going to this show. So talking to them about the differences between deploying an AV over IP network as well as a broadcast network.
Yeah, exactly. So check out this video.
Netgear AV, we do AV switches for SMPTE, ST2110, Dante AV, NDI, but we also now support Wi-Fi access points and routers. The Engage controller is perfect for multi-switch installations. This is residing on a Windows PC or a Mac, and instantly all the Netgear AV switchers are discovered. You have your topology so that you can see how you actually connected all these switches together with the access points. And what's very fantastic is that this way, instead of configuring the AV switchers one by one for the SMPTE, for the Dante AV or the NDI, we have a central repository. You can push across your network your different profiles and colors with SMPTE, with Dante AV, with NDI, with Riddle Bolero, and deploy very instantly.
Okay, last video that Tim and I have for you guys. This is from a company called rAVe. You might know them because they are really big in house of worship streaming. Yeah. So I already knew this company. I was excited to go and spend some time at their booth, and they showed me a couple of things, but this was my favorite. So this is like just a small functionality that is actually so useful for so many of us. So this is a functionality for a QR code where we know we're usually like watching a lot of broadcasts on our phone. So like a lot of people have told me or Gary before that they watch rAVe TV on their phones when they're just like eating their lunch. And the thing was, we used to pop up a QR code with like all the links that we talk about, but how are they going to do that if they're watching on their phone? So this is kind of an answer to that.
So for instance, right here, you'll see we've kind of got a little piece set up here. QR codes are a big part of how a lot of our broadcasters are able to engage with the stream and actually get content out. You know, that's pretty popular these days. But the problem with a QR code many times is, if you think about it, if you're watching on a computer or even, you know, this device, a phone, 70% of most of our viewership is going to be on a phone these days, if you think about it. I mean, this is where people are engaging with your content. So if you put up a QR code in a broadcast, how do they scan it? How do they actually engage with that content? So that's what we look to solve with this kind of key feature. So if you notice, there's a little pill that pops up. We are automatically scanning on a rAVe embed any QR code that you put up there. You don't have to pre-populate this per se. If you do and let us know what's going to be coming in there, we can actually pop up a pop-up to engage with. Say you want to sign someone up for a list to be able to communicate with them via email. Say you want a live poll and that QR code goes to a live poll, you can actually engage with it and it will pop up over the broadcast and be a part of that. So
kind of a simple solution, yet like that is so elegant and like ingenious for those
really
things.
Useful.
Yeah, so useful. So, again, this was not at all of what Tim and I saw, but I tried to like pick a few things that were a few audio, a few broadcast production, some virtual production. I tried to give like a very wide range of like trends that were there, if that makes sense.
Well, and you
Uh,
forgot something very important.
what, AI?
We sang happy birthday to you.
Oh yeah, you did sing happy birthday to me, which was important because I was at NAB on my birthday.
You
So
were.
that is pretty much, a good example of what Tim and I saw. But again, if you want to check out more, you can go to ravepubs.com/NAB show or
avnation.tv/NAB25.
awesome. So we're going to continue the rest of launch week now. We got one more panel for you guys today, and this is going to be all about AV trends to watch for the rest of 2025. Tim, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Steph.
All right. See you guys in a second.